Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Work Smarter and Lead Stronger podcast with your favorite host, me, Temi. So, today I am joined by a guest who brings decades of experience in building trust, scaling operations, and empowering teams to win. Sean O'Hearn is an executive leader with over 20 years of experience across sales, marketing, and operations. He has built high performance teams, driven measurable growth, and led successful change initiatives with an eye for strategy and execution.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
And Sean is really passionate about breaking down knowledge silos, leveraging tech to support people, and building culture where trust drives results. Sean is very big on trust. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about for sure in this conversation. So Sean is currently pursuing his MBA in leadership to sharpen his executive edge even further. If that's even possible. I mean, it's already super sharp, but hey, I love that humility.
You got to try.
So Sean, welcome. So
Thank
let's
you.
start with something that, and thank you for joining. I know you're very busy with, being an executive and your MBA and family and all the good stuff.
It's always fun to talk about something not MBA or toys or whatever.
That should be the name of a book. When you graduate, a book called MBA and Toys.
Oh,
Hey,
okay, I'll have to take a look.
I'll get my cut for sure though.
Yeah. I'll just send me the link.
Right? So let's start with something that every leader wrestles with. Tell us about systems. What system or habits help you stay focused and productive throughout your week?
Always checking in with yourself is probably the most important thing. I'm big on writing my thoughts out as opposed to just sort of going off the cuff. I often don't trust myself enough to be able to sort of go without that structure. So it's a combination of using technology with the calendar as well as sort of checking in with myself on the priorities. I
Mm,
learned a while ago, especially as I sort of got into more senior positions, that really remaining focused in on what your goals are and what you're doing in order to be able to work towards those goals are really important. There's a lot of noise that can happen. So, being able to funnel that out is a really important part.
that is very true. Prioritization.
100%.
Yes. Because, I mean, the fires will come, but the work needs to get done.
Yeah. There's a sticky note that I keep on my monitor for when I am home. And, it's for me because I look after a sales and marketing team. It's, does this generate revenue? And then there's a flow chart of yes or no. And if it's yes, double down on it. If it's no, give it to somebody else. And it just sort of helps to make sure that I'm staying focused on what I need to
I
do.
love that. That is a really good idea. It's like a Coles Note version. It's Coles Notes Canadian. So I studied in America. So I have like American vocab, I have Nigerian vocab, I have British, and I have Canadian.
It's like a Barnes and Noble notes then.
Like a summary, essentially. I don't know what the Canadian version would be, but yeah,
Cole's notes.
yeah, yeah. It's a summary. So it's like a summary of the Eisenhower matrix, essentially. I love it.
Yes.
It's so
Yeah,
important to,
exactly.
knowing what the goals are in your role and then making sure that what you're doing or what you're focusing on in the midst of the fires is
Right.
aligning. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, when that laptop closes for the day, did you actually accomplish the goal? Or were you just running around in circles with your hands in
Sometimes
the air?
the answer is no. You didn't accomplish your goal, and those are the days that you tend to beat yourself up a little bit more. So what I've also tried to do is at the end of each day, just before I go to bed, I try to unplug, make sure that there's no electronics or anything, and I'll just write down what did I get to accomplish today. It stops the beating and the negativity in your head because it sets you up for the next day as well to say, hey, I actually did accomplish some things, and it's a good way to be able to summarize some of it.
That is really good. It's good. I love pen and paper too. Even in the midst of all the technology, there's something about just holding a pen to
Yep,
paper.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. One notebook. That's all you need. It's nice and
Yes.
easy. Yep,
Yes.
yep.
So, Sean, you lead across multiple functions. What's one shift that you have made that has improved your team's collaboration?
So I think the most recent thing that I've done is, so I lead a Canadian sales team, a US sales team, and then marketing, and then sales enablement. So with four different but interconnected departments, it became really cumbersome for me to try to bring all of the people all together to be able to say, hey, here's what's happening, and why don't you tell me what's going on, and fill in the rest of the team. So what I started to do is rather than do biweekly one-on-ones with my team, I started doing monthly one-on-ones with my team. And then I do biweekly subgroup calls. And the subgroup calls, like for instance, my Canadian sales team, I'll say, okay, here's the 3 agenda items that we look at, operational challenges, what are your top priorities, and what did you have fun doing these
Oh,
past 2
nice.
weeks? So those are sort of the 3. They apply to all the different disciplines, but we each person gets a chance to be able to run through what's happened. And what it allows it to do is if there's somebody who's working in Red Deer, Alberta, so I manage somebody in Red Deer, and then I manage another person who's based out of Stouffville, Ontario.
Mm,
So I'll say, the person in Red Deer will say, I worked through this, this, and this, and the person in Stouffville might say, actually, I'm working on a similar customer. What did you do to be able to accomplish X, Y, Z? So those subgroups allowed us to be able to really zero in a little bit more. Yeah.
really, really good. So the subgroups are based on the 4 units. So like each unit will have
Yes.
its own.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'll do a monthly call where we review numbers. We'll review, what's been happening with the team, and that brings everybody together. But largely, on a day-to-day basis, the Canadian team doesn't care as much about what the US team is doing. I care, but the Canadian team wouldn't. So, for them it's about what's relevant, what's going to get a quick check-in, what's going to maximize the communication, and what's going to get them back into generating revenue, which is what they're supposed to be doing.
That's really good. But I think having the once a month meeting with everyone also gives the other groups a perspective, like a different
Yes.
perspective, and also helps them to appreciate the value
Yes.
of what the other team. Times when people don't talk to each other, sometimes they're like, "What does this group do?"
Yeah.
And you were, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. What does marketing do all day anyway?
exactly. What does marketing do all day? People hear that all the time.
Yep.
So it just gives them an opportunity to, right, to actually share that, hey, this is a value I'm bringing to the company. And then maybe an employee in sales enablement actually, desires to be in marketing one day, and then they get to learn, right? Then they can start to build that relationship also, right? And be like, hey, do you mind, if we had a chat and you could tell me more about, XYZ that you mentioned on the call.
Yes.
So I think it's a very great way, like a very low barrier way to, introduce the other teams to each other.
Yes. Yeah. Also with me sort of being on all those calls and administering them, if I need to bring sales enablement into a US call or something like that to be able to say, okay, we've got something where I think sales enablement can really help based on this call. I know you have your own subgroup call, but come into this one so that if there's something that you can do that's impactful and we can do it right away, it allows us to react really quickly.
It's
Yeah.
needed.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, by the wayside.
Oh my goodness. That's a very great tip. Honestly, two great tips already, and we're just getting
Trying.
started.
Yeah.
So as leadership evolves, what's something that I used to believe about leadership that, you've since changed your mind on?
I started leadership when I was really young. So I was 19 when I got my first supervisor role, and I was managing. I worked at a hospital before I got into sales and sort of the business area. So I was a housekeeping supervisor, and I was a housekeeper. So before I didn't have any college or anything like that. So I was doing housekeeping, and my first sort of full-time job was a supervisor for housekeeping. So at 19, managing people who are 40,
I can
45,
imagine.
50, in a unionized environment, which it adds another layer of complexity, you almost overcompensate for the fact that you're so young
Mm,
and you're trying to prove something to
mm.
people. So you don't want to be taken advantage of. So you take maybe a little bit of a harder stance than what you probably should. One of the learnings that I had early on was taking a harder stance doesn't necessarily make you a better leader. What it will do is it tend to alienate people if you take too hard of a stance all the time and you don't allow that human factor to become part of what you're doing on a day to day. So I guess the early part for me was in the leadership aspect. Is your job really to be able to connect with people, or is it to be able to show people that you're okay with having difficult discussions? And the difficult discussions part is a really critical part of leadership, but it's not the only part. And being able to show people that you're willing to do it versus you have the kindness to be able to have those difficult discussions, those are two different things. And I think I started early by saying, look at me, I'm willing to have this discussion. And my leadership style has turned into, I try to grab the kindness to be able to have that difficult discussion with you, because if you don't hear this, you may end up making that same mistake over and over again, and you're not going to get what you're wanting out of it. So it's a long-winded way of sort of saying, I think it's being able to shift your leadership over from the hard and bluntness over to being a little bit more kind instead.
And that you're a person,
Yeah,
a person
yeah,
dealing with people.
yeah,
That makes you more approachable, right?
yes,
Team knows that if something goes bad, right, you know your team well enough that they didn't do it intentionally. So they're
yes,
not scared to approach it like, oh, we made a mistake.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Those hidden mistakes are the ones that hurt the most, because
The
they end up
worst.
slapping you in the face.
Yes.
It's part of
The
my
worst.
onboarding process, with whether it's me joining the team or whether it's somebody new joining the team that's
Mm-hmm.
already established. It's number one rule is I don't like surprises. Mistakes are
Please,
absolutely going to happen, but don't surprise me with them.
please. You're like, please, not bad surprises. I like good surprises.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like the bad surprises, but bad scenarios are different
Yes.
than a bad surprise.
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah,
true. So true.
yeah.
Yes. Please don't, we don't want the teams hiding stuff until it
That's
blows
right.
up. And
Yeah,
you're like, oh my
yeah,
goodness, like when did this happen? But
yeah.
it's always been under your nose.
6 months ago.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Like, actually, I've been
Yeah.
meaning to tell you.
Yeah, yeah. I just haven't
My
been able to
goodness.
summon the courage to be able to tell
Uh-huh.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, no, we don't
yeah,
want that.
no.
That is awesome. Awesome. So we're going to talk about accountability, Sean. And I know accountability is a huge part of performance. So how do you hold people accountable without slipping into micromanagement?
Yeah, so I think it's about being able to set very clear expectations from the
Mm,
get-go. Clear expectations can sometimes be disguised as being anal retentive or
mm,
very specific, but I found that if from the get-go, if I'm not as clear about what I'm looking for, and not necessarily how to do it, but what the results I need in order to be able to get there, for me to go to one of my salespeople and say, "Hey, I need you to grow your sales by 10%." Okay, right. And, a salesperson is their whole job is to sell. So if they were able to grow it by 10%, they probably already would have. So being able to go to them and say, "Hey, look, we're looking for a 10% bump in order to be able to do that. Why don't you walk me through some of the different options of how we could potentially arrive at a 10% bump? What's your low-hanging fruit? Why don't we walk through some of that? And then develop a plan and tell me what it's going to take to be able to do it. I'll
mm,
help support you." But ultimately, that conversation is left with the salesperson understands, I know the team needs a 10% bump. I know Sean's counting on me for this part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work towards being able to make sure that we get that 10%, or at least have a plan to be able to do it. From there, I'll say, okay, that 10% bump needs to come in. Our fiscal closes at the end of next month. In a month from now, or in 2 weeks from now, let's do a check-in. Let's see how things are going, and then we'll go from there. At that 2-week check-in, we check in to make sure that there's progress. If there's no progress, that's where the accountability piece
mm.
comes in. If there is progress, then we want to make sure that we're continuing on the right track.
Yes. Praising progress. I like that you're seeking their input because
Yes,
they're the expert in their role, right? So it's like, okay, here's the result that I want to see. How can we get there? How can I
right.
support you? The support piece is very important, right? That's a really great strategy, Sean. He's like, yes, I know.
It works sometimes. It really depends on the performer that you have as well, and you need to know who you're dealing with when you go and try that approach. That approach doesn't work on everybody. You take a look at your explorers, right, where they're able to say, okay, you just tell me what needs to be done, and I'll go ahead and try to figure out how to do it. And then there's folks who can get a little bit more in the weeds, and not to say that one is a better performer than the other, but with my leadership style, it's making sure that, do we have the right people who perform in the way that it's going to mesh really well with the way that I sort of lead as well. And for folks who maybe don't have the same style, they're depending on, okay, I need explicit 1 2 3 instructions. I'm building this cabinet. and I can't just look at the cabinet and figure out how to build it. I need the instructions to be able to do it. And when you are managing or leading folks like that, it's making sure, okay, I need to understand, where does this person need the help, and where do I know that I need to interject to be able to make sure that they're on the right track, and where do we maybe where can their talents be maybe better utilized if we need to do different things. So it really depends on the person, because the same approach doesn't always work.
100%.
Yeah,
So true. So
yeah.
true. Yeah. Where's the best place for their strengths, right? Doesn't make them a bad person or weak, right? It's just, okay, where would your strengths shine more?
Yeah, exactly. And, depending on the size of the team that you manage, the size of the company, anything like that, if you have the luxury of maybe having a larger company where you can look at the person and say, I know you've got good intention here, and I can better utilize your strength doing this instead. In smaller companies, sometimes you don't have that advantage where you look at it and say, I really need this in order for this company to hit the next thing. Your strengths are great, but they're not where I need them in order to be able to scale things. So as a leader, it's your responsibility to figure out, is this person doing what I need them to do in order to achieve the goal?
Yeah. And that can be a tough conversation.
Yes. Yes.
Somebody suggested in one of my interviews walking meetings.
Hmm.
And we talked about how walking meetings can be really good for such high tension
Yes.
conversations, right? The harder conversations, right? I said, unless the team member starts to run away, then that's a different issue. But if it's too
You
much for
just
them,
tie each other to the hip. You
yes,
tie a rope
exactly.
around your
You're just
legs,
gonna hold
and
hands
yeah.
and have this tough conversation. So, but I'm like, I was like, this is such a great idea. I love the idea of walking meetings. I'm just trying to think of how I can start implementing them too.
So without the label on it, because I'm remote, I do, or hybrid, I guess. If I'm not on a plane, I work from home, or I'm in the office. The office is about a 2-hour drive, so I don't go in all that often. So as a result, if I'm not traveling, I'm at home. And what I find is, rather than doing a bunch of my phone calls, especially where I know maybe there's going to be some tension on this call, I'll go and do those calls as I walk around the block. And I find that you throw your headphone in and you say, okay, I know I've got 3 tougher conversations that I have to have. I'm going to walk around the block, and I'll make all 3 of those phone calls while I'm walking. And it does help with making you're not holding your breath when you're having a difficult conversation. You tense up. Yeah. So it allows you to be able to breathe a little bit better. Your brain is firing on better circuits.
The fresh
It helps
air,
all the way around. Fresh air,
fresh.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What you just mentioned is the time blocking, which I'm such a fan of, right? For this time block, I'm going to make these 3 tough calls and get them out of the way.
Yeah, sometimes it works better than others. You and I talked about, different fires that you're putting out, and all that sort of thing. And the time block is great in theory. And I find I always have time for those conference calls that I'm getting pulled into, but sometimes I'm not as good about blocking the time for me. It's one of those skill sets that you have to develop.
Yeah, I get that feedback often from leadership that, oh, it sounds so great on paper. But I'm like, if you're not communicating it to the team, right? So people have an understanding. And it's not just an expectation for you, but for the rest of the team too, that,
Yes.
oh, we need to get this amount of work done. Please block time. And no one's allowed to double book you, right? They
Yeah.
see that, okay, you block like an hour of time, right? The onus is also on the employee to get the work done in that time. That I cannot
Yes.
control. But I'm like, I just think it's more of a communication piece. And it always has to come from leadership, because an employee cannot just start blocking their time. And then everyone's like, what's wrong with you?
I did have that actually.
Yeah.
At a previous company, I hired an individual. I For every good hire that I've had a not good hire, and this one was not a good hire. And so I was trying to coach him through time management, utilizing calendars, how to divide up your Google Drive and all that sort of thing. And so I showed him, this is what I do. I'll do conference calls, but then I'll color code focus time to be able to say, okay, I need an hour in between these calls. And if I don't block it, somebody else is going to put a call in. So I block it. So I went to book a meeting with him, and I noticed that all of his days were all blocked.
And you just joined it. Who are you meeting with?
Who are you meet? What call are you on for 6 hours
Seriously.
from?
Like, my goodness.
Yeah,
It's like focus time, Sean.
the other
Focus
side
time.
of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. And tell me more about these. I'm curious about your conference calls, because you mentioned sometimes people pull you in. Is there like an agenda? Do you know where you're going into? Or is it just a, hey, I'm going to show up and find out? I'm going to find out what's going on.
So the current company that I'm at is a little better on sort of that the culture ultimately drives how the calls are going to go. And the company that I'm with now, a little better from, you know, not necessarily the, hey, I'm just going to throw this call into your calendar and you're like, could you give me some context or anything? Yeah, getting pulled into a conference call, there's that little bit of anxiety as you go into it of like, am I going to get bombarded or beaten over the head with something or whatever. I've also worked in companies where it is, hey, just hop onto this call and all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I was trying to get this other time sensitive thing done. Is this call really going to be advantageous? So for me, what I generally try to do when it's my team is I'll include an agenda. My default within my calendar is to set a 30-minute meeting. So the default usually is an hour if you don't adjust it, and the hour, it eats up a block really fast. Yeah,
If you book an hour, they're going to take an
it
hour.
will take that long. So 30 minutes is generally is my default, and then sometimes it'll be, hey, I just need you for 10 minutes. I need to show you something. Let's hop on. We'll do that. But 30 minutes is otherwise the default.
Honestly, I tell people, even if it's not like a fancy, it doesn't have to be a fancy agenda, with bullet points and sub bullet
No,
points.
it's usually
Just
three.
give some context.
Yep.
Give some
Yeah,
context so we know what we're going into. And if somebody needs to prepare something,
that's
right? As
right.
opposed to them joining the call, then they're not prepared, then it's a waste of time.
Yep. Yep. They're like, I don't need to join this. I don't have any involvement in
Exactly,
any of these things or
exactly,
whatever.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
And so with you leading, I'm going to call it it's hard to call it a hybrid team, but let's call it hybrid because you do have some people that go into the office. Do they all go into the office in the different locations? Like, do they all
No,
have some?
so we only have one as a manufacturing facility, like as a manufacturer, we only have one location. So it's our head office and in the manufacturing plant. And it's probably the source of one of my bigger challenges, I guess, where I've got some folks that go into the office, and offices always have their own culture, they have their own pulse, they have their own DNA. People who have worked together for a very long time, whether they're in the same department or not, it doesn't matter. You've been going through the same doors every single day. And then you've got other folks like myself who are remote. I have folks that are in the US who go to the office once a year or whatever. So managing different people that have different radius of where our head office is it can be challenging. So yeah, you have to make an effort in order for it to work.
So how are you able to make it work?
So communication was definitely one of the biggest aspects when I looked at that. I've managed remote teams for quite some time, and the difference with this company is that there's some folks who do go into the office every single day. And so what we've tried to do is we do have a team instant messenger. It's not a channel, but it's just everybody
Yeah.
who's on the team is within there. I do try to encourage as much as we can to be able to sort of throw different things in there, a kid's birthday party or whatever. So there's the social aspect piece that does help to bond the team a little bit more, but a lot of it is those subgroup calls that we talked about earlier. It helps to knock down some of those walls that might exist, knowing that there's office people versus, salespeople who are out on the road. You try to do away with some of those sort of deep ingrained identities.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so needed. It's so
Yeah.
needed. Good. It's always good to have a face to a name, right? So that, when the tough conversations do come, within the team, you know, so they feel like, okay, I know who the person is. I'm talking to a human. Because sometimes if people don't have that connection, then
Yes.
the tone just seems, it becomes off. It's kind of like a meaner tone. But if it's like, okay, I know that this person has a kid that is, 7 years old and is a
Yep.
cutie pie,
Yep. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a nicer way I can put this, even if I feel annoyed in the situation, right?
It allows you to add some personality into what you're doing. There's also it also allows it so that there's less spiraling that can happen. So as a remote worker, if you're left in a position where you don't really know what's happening at the office, you could be working out of, I don't know, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You really have no connectivity to anybody that's around you, you're on kind of an island. And as much as you're part of the team, there's nobody physically around you. And we're social beings. It's really easy for your thoughts to spiral out of control to say, everybody's against me in the office. I can't get anything done. Nobody really knows. I'm not getting the results that I need. And, now I'm going to get fired. Right. And without that communication, without being able to bring the team in
Yeah.
together, that spiral can really, as soon as that negativity's in there, it can be impactful. Yeah.
The touch points are needed. You don't want people to have assuming negative intent. Oh, they sent hello, no smiley.
Yeah.
It means I'm going to get fired today.
What does that mean? Exactly.
Like,
100%. It's
like, I knew
100%
it.
true.
I knew that dream I had.
Yeah. It's
Oh
finally
my
happening.
goodness.
Yeah.
That's finally right. So, Sean, let's switch gears to rapid fire. So, short answers, just your gut instinct. Are you ready?
Can we do like pretty fast fire instead?
Right. Okay. Pretty fast fire is fine. As fast as you like it.
All right. Fair enough.
Even turtle speed fire. However, you prefer slow and steady fire. So, you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So, tell us, how do you reset and refocus during a busy week?
Reading, yoga, and stretching.
Nice. Nice. And what's your biggest meeting pet peeve? I know we just talked about some, but what's the
Yeah.
biggest one?
No agenda, no context, no objective.
Sean doesn't like surprises, guys. If your team is listening to this, no surprises, except if it's chocolate or donuts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Canadian answer.
Exactly. If it's Timbits,
Yeah,
keep it
exactly.
in mind. Oh my goodness. So what's one productivity hack that you've used that actually works?
It's simple, but setting a timer. So
Um,
if I get an hour, I set a timer on my phone and I say, don't look at your phone, don't look at your email, don't look at anything else. Set the timer, and it's
get
amazing
to
how much
work.
work you can get done.
Deep focus.
Yeah.
People sleep on deep focus. It's so
Yes.
important. But you know what? Because people want to get distracted. Let's be honest. The reason why a lot of people sleep on it is because they want it.
It's real easy to go and check LinkedIn or whatever, but the timer is probably my biggest hack for if I need to get things done. Yeah.
So when it comes to virtual meetings, are you a camera on guy or camera off for your team?
Camera on if I'm leading the call or I'm going to be frequently speaking on it. If I'm just hopping onto a call where there's like 20 people or something like that and I'm more listening, then I'll turn it off.
That's fair. And are you team email or team instant messenger?
Depends on the message that you're sending. If it's a little more informal and not absolutely mandatory to the business, IM is great. Yeah, if it's a message that needs to be recalled, then I do email.
100%. You don't want to be looking for a contract in an instant message.
Yeah.
Who was I chatting with?
Yeah.
Was it a group chat or an individual chat?
Yeah. Temi's kid, and then there's this really important legal document
You're
that
just
we have.
filtering through and then you get distracted. You're like, oh, that's a cute picture of a puppy.
Yeah, it's
What was I
very
here for again?
distracting.
Oh my goodness. So what's the best leadership advice you've ever received?
Don't take it too seriously. It's just soap. I sell cleaning chemicals, and
So I'm like, is this like a metaphor for something?
yeah, I'm in the chemical industry, so cleaning products and things like that. And one of my bosses said, it's just soap, man. Don't take it too seriously. And it's stemmed off from my leadership approach as well of, your own wellness and your mental health and things like that are the most important aspects. Your sales will end up taking care of themselves if your mental health is right. We're not saving lives. It's just soap. So make sure that you're putting it into context.
That is really good. Well, you are saving lives if it's like the C word, COVID.
Yeah, disinfectants
COVID
and
for
hand
people listening, not
sanitizer.
watching.
Yeah. It was a different time for us.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But in these times,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, I'm having such a good time. So one last question, Sean. Can you tell us one small thing that you think leaders could do this week to show that they care?
I think that the power of positive praise when something has gone well, or you can see that a team member is proud of something that they've done. It's return dividends that I can't even calculate, where you can figure out this person is passionate about what they're doing and they are actually proud of that thing that maybe didn't make as much of an impact as they think it did, But if the pride that's there, you want to make sure that you're praising that, because the passion is what's going to continue to build. So praise when there's progress. It's an important aspect.
Leaders, please don't forget to praise your team. It doesn't have to be when they win the $1 million contract. It's even in the steps in between or
That's
whatever
right.
their function is. So, Sean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Seriously, I've had such a great time.
Me too. I did too.
But you've given us so much insight around building trust, reducing friction, leading with systems, and still being a human being. Yes, it's good to have systems, but still be a human being. So it's just been such a powerful conversation. Can you just tell our people, because they're going to be wondering, where can people find you?
I guess LinkedIn is probably the easiest one. Smoke signals works as well,
Smoke
but
signals work,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
That's how I found him.
yeah. No, LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Honestly, it's been such a great conversation. I appreciate your time. So for people tuning in, don't worry, I'll also put Sean's LinkedIn info in the show notes so you can easily grab it there. So you can connect with him, learn more about his leadership journey, all that good stuff. Thank you everyone for listening. It's been a great time. Don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. So it's goodbye from me and from Sean.
See you
Thank
later.
you. Bye.